All right, y'all, we back with another reaction right here on ABP Reactions, and this one is called The Infamous Scene That Took Soul Train Off Air for Good. We was reacting to Soul Train videos from the 90s, from the 80s, from the 70s, from the 60s, and I was like, dang, what happened to Soul Train? Why did it end? We know how Don Cornelius, well, some of you may not know, but we know how his life ended. I'm sure he's going to tell us in this, so let's watch, man. Let's get into it.
In the day, there was this incredible TV show called Soul Train that completely changed the game. Nothing else on television had the kind of impact it did when it came to music and dance. It was a big deal, especially for black folks, because it gave them a spotlight to shine in a way they hadn't before. But then, out of nowhere, in 2006, the show just stopped. It was gone, and nobody really understood why. There was this one final episode that got filmed but never made it to air, and that's where this story begins. Let's dive into what happened, starting with the man who made it all possible and how it all fell apart, piece by piece. There was this guy named Don Cornelius, born in 1936 in Chicago. Growing up, things weren't easy for black people like him. The world was split by unfair rules that kept black and white folks apart. Don wasn't always in the TV game. He worked all sorts of jobs, like directing traffic as a cop and selling stuff to make ends meet. But in 1966, he decided to chase a bigger dream. He went to school to learn about radio and television, and pretty soon, he landed a gig as a news reporter at a Chicago TV station. That's where the spark for something bigger started to grow. While working at the station, Don noticed something missing from TV. There wasn't a single music show that really celebrated black culture, so he came up with an idea to create one. He called it Soul Train, and it hit the airwaves in Chicago on August 17, 1970. The show was all about live music, dancing, and local talent showing off what they could do.
That's tight.
People went crazy for it right away. It was fresh.
That's actually tight as fuck. Nigga like, hey, man, you know what's missing? I mean, radio, we need a show where our culture can come on here, dance on TV, and we could break artists. We could show local talent. How the fuck did that get approved, though? Like, that's actually dope as fuck. Like, could somebody do that today? Like, hey, let's start a show. Well, now you have YouTube. I think everybody like, fuck it, I don't need TV no more. I'm going to YouTube with some shit like this. But damn, this is actually dope. Pioneer shit, pioneer shit.
It was fun, and it was something they'd never seen before. Just a little over a year later, on October 2nd, 1971, Soul Train went national, airing on TV stations all over the country. Big companies like Sears and Johnson Products stepped in to fund it, and that money helped keep the show alive. It was colorful, with amazing music and dance moves that had everyone glued to their screens. Soul Train's golden years were something else. All the biggest names in music showed up. You had legends like James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye.
How was he getting these acts, though? Like, how was he booking the biggest acts? Okay, because Sears, was they paying these niggas, like, or were they coming through because he was on radio? I wonder. Like, was it like a favor? I'm sure they was paying us on TV. That shit was probably cheap as hell back then. They was probably booking niggas for like $100, huh?
Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 lighting up the stage. Later on, stars like LL Cool J and Mary J. Blige took their turn. But it wasn't just about the singers. The dancers were a huge part of the magic. Some of them, like Rosie Perez and Jody Watley, became famous just from being on the show. One dancer, Jeffrey Daniel, even taught Michael Jackson how to do the moonwalk.
Wait a minute. Rosie Perez came from, y'all know who Rosie Perez is from White Man Can't Jump? The original White Man Can't Jump with Wesley Snipes. And the girl, everybody thought she was the shit because she had like that New York accent, that Latina accent, that New York shit. Rosie Perez was the shit back in the day. So she came from Soul Train? I didn't know that. I didn't know she came from Soul Train.
Which became one of the most iconic dance moves ever. One of the coolest parts of Soul Train was this thing called the Soul Train line. Picture two rows of dancers facing each other, forming a kind of tunnel. One by one, people would strut down the middle, showing off their best moves while everyone cheered them on. It was like a big, joyful dance party where anybody could be the star for a moment. The show wasn't just about fun, though. It meant so much more. For black folks watching at home, it was a chance to see themselves on TV, looking confident, stylish, and proud. It became a weekly ritual for millions, something they couldn't wait to tune into. For the dancers who got to be on the show, it could be a ticket to fame, a chance to change their lives. Don Cornelius wasn't just the guy in front of the camera hosting the show. He was the mastermind behind it all. He called the shots on everything, the music, the outfits, the vibe. Don was always calm and serious.
Damn, so this nigga was like, he was damn near like a Vince McMahon. He's super hands-on. I ain't mad at that, man. Look. That's two great shows, and look what they both got in common. The same thing. You got to be hands-on with this shit. Like, they said the nigga pick out the costumes, the outfits, the music, who it is. Fully hands-on. That's the same shit with goddamn Vince McMahon and WWF. He pick out the characters, he give them names, nigga decide what they're going to wear. That shit is, look at that, legendary shit. Soul Train was legendary, man. God damn.
Which gave Soul Train a unique feel compared to other music shows. He believed TV should be for everybody, not just white folks, and he wanted black culture to shine in a positive way. For over 30 years, Soul Train churned out more than 1,000 episodes, making it the longest-running music show in TV history.
1,000?
In its prime, during the late 1970s and early 1980s, millions of people tuned in every week. Companies that sold makeup and clothes to black folks loved advertising on the show because they knew they'd reach a huge audience.
Oh,
Soul Train got so big that it spun off into award shows, fashion events, and even merchandise. Don Cornelius became a giant in black entertainment.
Soul Train Awards. Damn. This is really some classics.
In 1971, Life magazine named him one of the 100 most important people in America. But when something gets that big, trouble often follows, and Soul Train was no exception. Don was super strict about how the show ran. He had a clear vision and controlled every detail, from what songs played to how the dancers moved. Rosie Perez, who danced on the show for years, said Don once told her to change her moves because they didn't fit the vibe he wanted. He didn't want anything too wild or suggestive, keeping things in line with his idea of what Soul Train should be.
Damn.
Here's the thing, though. A lot of the dancers didn't get paid. For them, just being on national TV was the reward, a shot at fame. But later, some of them felt cheated. The show made money off their talent and creativity, but they didn't see a dime. That started to stir up some bad feelings. Then came an even bigger...
That nigga Don said, fuck you niggas. I'm finna platform you niggas and let y'all motherfucking dance. And then, of course, entitlement kicks in. We've been here for 30 episodes and you ain't paid us nothing. You don't gotta come. Now, if you like one of the girls that he's calling, like, hey, I need you here, and I'm telling you what to do every week, yeah, I would definitely be like, hey, nigga, you gotta pay me to keep telling me what to do, motherfucker. God damn, I could come a lot one or two, 3 times. I get it. You got some exposure for me, god damn. But hold on now. Not if I'm on here booming. Not if I'm wait, was he paying Rosie Perez? Because she spun off into a movie, a big movie, because White Man Can't Jump was huge.
Bigger problem in the late 1980s when hip-hop music started taking over. Don wasn't a fan. He thought hip-hop promoted negative stuff like violence and bad language. In 1992, he flat out said he didn't want Soul Train playing music that wasn't uplifting. That didn't sit well with a lot of people. Musicians and folks in the music industry called him old school, saying he was out of touch with what young people loved. Newer shows like Yo MTV Raps and BET's Rap City leaned hard into hip-hop, playing the songs Soul Train wouldn't touch. Big names like Tupac, Nas, and Snoop Dogg barely showed up on Don's show. So, younger viewers started flipping the channel. With Soul Train sticking to its old ways, its audience shrank. In the early 1980s, over 4 million people watched every week. By the early 2000s, that number dropped to about 2 million.
Damn. All because you don't want to change with the times and being a dinosaur. But I do stand your ground. I do fuck with that. Like, if he's saying, I don't want to promote music that's promoting violence in our communities, and I just want to promote uplifting music, I get it. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to promote uplifting shit. But if that ain't the hot shit, sometimes that don't be the hot shit. It's like, you know, with these YouTube channels. You got the niggas who be talking and preaching and be like, yeah, that's not as hot as the shit with the drama, with the you know, the destruction, all that. Like that should just be, it's more entertaining. And especially when you're talking about Tupac Shakur, nigga, Notorious Big, Snoop Dogg, and you're bringing on, who you're bringing on? Fucking Aaron Hall, nigga. Like, who you bringing on, bro? Yeah, listen, bro, we out here, we the youth. We want to see Snoop. We want to see nigga Hot Boys. We want to see Dr. Dre. We want to see Master P. And you over here offering us who? Nigga, that's out.
TV stations started pushing Soul Train to less popular time slots or swapping it out for newer shows. In 1993, Don decided to step down as host after 23 years. New hosts like Maestro Clark, Shamar Moore, and Dorian Gregory tried to fill his shoes, but none of them had that special spark Don brought. The show tried to freshen up with a new stage, different hosts, and even some hip-hop artists, but it just didn't feel the same. It started to seem outdated compared to the slick new music shows popping up. Between 2003 and 2006, Soul Train made fewer episodes each season, and a lot of the crew jumped ship for other jobs.
Damn.
Making the show was expensive, and with fewer people watching, the companies funding it started questioning whether it was worth it.
Damn.
Don himself stopped showing up at public events and barely talked to the press. The show that had once been his pride and joy felt like a relic of the past. Even though Soul Train kept airing, it didn't have the same pull anymore. New artists weren't clamoring to perform, and dancers didn't stick around long. Then in 2006, something went down.
That shit would never work right now. They said new artists wasn't trying to perform. Right now, the thing about new artists, they want a bag, nigga. If you try to book a new artist to do a show, they're gonna be like, nigga, what? What are you doing for me? Like, your shit better be boom. Your show better be booming, or it better be through radio. And it's a favor for radio, I'll come do it. If y'all gonna look out and give me some extra spins and da-da-da-da on my new single I'm pushing. But if you're just a show, a music show, they're gonna hit you for a bag, nigga. Especially when you got all these festivals now. Like, festivals offer more money than clubs. So there's artists who only get club money, but then once you elevate and you start doing hard ticket sales and you start really doing, like, you know, House of Blues, and you elevate from there and start doing 3,000 capacity, 5,000 capacity, 12,000. Now when you're talking about festivals, they offering you a bag. And if you got a show and you like, hey man, look, I got 2,500 for you to come perform on, they're gonna be like, nigga, please. I just went and got 200,000 from Rolling Loud. The fuck I'm doing your show for 2,500 for? Nigga, that's out.
During the filming of what would be the final episode. It was supposed to be a regular day on set in Los Angeles, but people who were there said it felt off from the start. The crew was swapped out at the last minute, the guest list was a mess, and nobody seemed to know what was going on. Some folks said Don Cornelius was there, lingering backstage, even though he wasn't officially involved anymore. Those who knew him well could tell he wasn't happy with how far the show had strayed from his original vision. The episode was supposed to feature a young hip-hop artist, but things didn't even get rolling until almost an hour late, because the artist's managers were arguing with the crew. A former staff member said the performance included stuff, dancing, outfits, visuals, that went way beyond what Soul Train was about. It was too edgy, too far from the family-friendly image Don had always insisted on. Things got so bad that Don reportedly stopped the shoot and called an urgent meeting with the companies that got Soul Train on TV stations nationwide. One of those companies, Tribune Entertainment, pulled out soon after.
Damn.
Without their support, Soul Train couldn't keep broadcasting across the country. Within 3 weeks, more than 40% of the local stations that aired the show dropped it. There was no big announcement, no
Damn, 40% dropped the show. It's over with. Rest in peace.
farewell episode, just silence. The Soul Train website stopped updating. Networks filled its time slot with other shows, and the production schedule was canceled for good.
Wow.
Word started to spread that this one unaired episode was the nail in the coffin. Even though it never aired, some footage from that day still exists, held by former staff. Fans on social media started calling it a cursed performance.
Wait, who performance was it in 2006? Who the hell performance was it that stopped Soul Train? A young hip-hop artist.
Together rumors about what went wrong. That episode didn't just ruin one day. It marked the end of one of the most iconic shows in TV history. The fallout went deeper than just losing the show. It tarnished the legacy Don Cornelius had spent his life building.
Damn.
After Soul Train went off the air, the media barely mentioned it, and Don refused to talk about what happened. In 2007, he did one radio interview and only said, "I think it went far enough." After that, he pretty much vanished from the public eye. Many felt he was heartbroken, betrayed, and by a show he no
Why you say Tupac Shakur right there? Was Tupac? No, Tupac was dead in 2006. What the fuck?
longer recognized. Former dancers and performers started speaking out. Rosie Perez called the show's sudden end an unnamed sadness. Dorian Gregory, one of the final hosts, said nobody on the team was told what was happening. They just noticed the filming schedule disappear from the system. Reporters started digging into the mystery.
How you just stop a show and don't tell nobody? That is some crazy shit. Y'all stop a show, your biggest funder pulls out the next day, and then that following week, 40% of the people who was airing your show stop airing your show. And they don't announce it to anybody. They just let the show die. So that lets me know whatever was said in that meeting that day, that they said they stopped the 2006 show and had an emergency meeting. Whatever was said in that meeting that day was some foul, vulgar shit that made everybody who was fucking with you pull out. You must have said some shit.
2008 article in Vibe magazine said Soul Train didn't end because of low ratings, but because the trust between the people making the show had crumbled. The Soul Train Awards, which started in 1987, kept going but got handed over to BET in 2009. The new awards had a modern vibe and barely nodded to the show's glory days, which left longtime fans feeling like a piece of their culture had been erased. Meanwhile, old Soul Train episodes started popping up online. People uploaded grainy VHS recordings from the 1970s and 1980s to YouTube, and those clips racked up millions of views. A whole new generation of fans, kids born after the show ended, fell in love with its music, fashion, and energy. But the final years, especially the messy 2000s, stayed mostly under wraps. Don Cornelius faced personal struggles after the show ended. In 2008, he was arrested for domestic violence, though he didn't serve time. Then in 2012, he took his own life at his Los Angeles home, leaving behind a lot of unanswered questions.
I remember when that shit happened, dog. I remember when that shit happened, when they announced that shit on the news and shit, and that shit came out. Don Cornelius shot himself, killed himself. Damn. Mind y'all, this is the nigga that was on TV Saturday mornings, man. Like, he was on TV. He was part of the culture for sure. He was the host. Love, peace, and soul. That's what we always say at the end. Love, peace, and soul. And that nigga offed himself, man. That is crazy.
The Los Angeles Times wrote that even though Don was a trailblazer, he left the spotlight in the quietest way possible. After his death, people started looking back at Soul Train's journey. Some called it a broken legacy, while others said it had done its job and just faded naturally. But one thing was clear. The 2006 shutdown was still cloaked in mystery. Some called it the Soul Train curse, not because it was supernatural, but because it captured the uneasy feeling of how it all ended. For the dancers, staff, and Don himself, the emotional toll lingered long after the cameras stopped rolling. Even with its quiet end, Soul Train's influence never really faded. Almost 20 years later, it's still a big part of culture, especially for Black folks. The show has been brought back to life in all sorts of ways. Documentaries, TV dramas, museum exhibits. In 2019, BET launched a show called American Soul, starring Cinqua Walls as Don Cornelius. It dove into the early days of Soul Train, showing the struggles of keeping Black identity front and center in a TV world run mostly by white executives. It didn't get into the 2006 episode, but it showed the pressure behind the show's glittery surface. Museums like the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture started preserving Soul Train artifacts, like the iconic costumes dancers wore. Scholars argued the show was a cultural treasure, just as important as Motown or the art movements of the 1960s and 1970s. YouTube became a time machine for Soul Train fans. Thousands of clips, performances, behind-the-scenes moments, interviews were uploaded, some from personal collections, others from old TV station archives.
Damn.
Young people who never saw the show live got hooked, copying the dance moves, recreating the funky outfits, even throwing Soul Train-themed parties. In 2021, a Soul Train challenge went viral on social media, with artists like Lizzo and HER posting videos of themselves dancing in that classic style. Some folks even held 1970s-themed costume contests.
Damn, Barry White, man. These are some OGs right here, man. These motherfucking OGs. We was young, but these motherfuckers definitely. Barry White was a nigga. That deep ass voice. He was a nigga out here. Hey, we gonna play some Barry White after this. We gonna play a Barry White song for all you motherfuckers who don't know who Barry White is.
To celebrate the show's vibe, historians and fans started pushing to restore the full series from 1971 to 2006. Some early episodes have been cleaned up and put on streaming platforms, but the later seasons, especially that final 2006 episode, remain untouched. Many believe that last episode will never see the light of day because of legal issues or its controversial content.
What happened?
Don Cornelius's legacy isn't just about the episodes that aired. It's about what Soul Train stood for, a place where Black Americans saw themselves on national TV.
Hold on, man. Y'all can't just talk about this 2006 episode and not show us nothing, not tell us nothing. All they keep saying, it was a hip-hop artist, and this was the last show. It was so out of pocket, it canceled the whole show. Who the fuck was it? Who do y'all think it was in the chat? Who do y'all think it was in 2006? A hip-hop artist. Think back to 2006, y'all. Who is so confrontational, or who probably had the wildest set where they had to end the show? Don Cornelius wanted to uplift and have artists that uplift Black communities. It had to be somebody who had like bitches. Oh, what year did Tip Drill come out? No, Tip Drill was in like 2001, 2000. Tip Drill, I was in high school. What year was Tip Drill, y'all? What year was Tip Drill? 2000, was Tip Drill 99? What year was Tip Drill? I cannot remember what year Tip Drill came out. 50 Cent? Chris Brown? Too Short? Ah, that's funny, Too Short.
Rocking their own style, music, and dance.
Oh, Yin Yang Twins. That could be possible.
That was huge, especially in the early 1970s, when racial divides were still stark. The sudden end in 2006 couldn't erase that. If anything, it turned Soul Train into something even more special, an icon that got cut off too soon. That sense of something unfinished keeps people curious, wanting answers. It's not just about the performances. It's about the shared memories for generations who watched, danced, and believed there was a place on TV where Black dreams could thrive.
All right, hold on. I had to look it up, y'all. I had to look it up. Who had the hottest songs in 2006? Let's go through some of them. And let me know in the chat who y'all think it could be. All right, these were the hot songs in 2006. Pop, Lock, and Drop It by Huey. Tipsy by Jaquan. Shoulder Lean by Young Dro and T.I. Right There by Chingy. It's Going Down by Young Jock. 50 Cent, Just a Little Bit. We Fly High, Jim Jones. Damn, 2006 was a good year. Soul Survivor by Jeezy. Still Fly by Big Timers. Damn. I Wanna Love You, Akon and Snoop Dogg. Crank That, Soulja Boy. Dilemma, Nelly and Kelly. Okay, who y'all think? Who y'all think, man? Just off those names alone. Who y'all think, man? Who y'all think? Who y'all think?
Even though the show's been gone for nearly 2 decades, its spirit lives on, bright and bold, a reminder of the voice and pride it gave to a community that had been overlooked for too long.
Okay. All right, man. What a time, man. 2006 was a time. I definitely want to know. I'm going to have to look after this and research 2006. We got to get to the bottom of who that was. They talked about it so much in this, but they did not mention who it was, and that don't sit right with me, man. I don't sit right with me. Know what I mean? But let me know what y'all think, man. This is definitely a classic show. It's a show a lot of us grew up on. You know, it was going way before us. Obviously, it started in the '70s and all that. So this is a show that we grew up on. Soul Train line to this day is still a big thing at black family events, barbecues, maybe weddings. People will hit a Soul Train line here and there. You know what I'm saying? It's like the electric slide. It ain't never going nowhere. That's going to always be at a black family event. So let me know what y'all think, though, man. Rest in peace to Don Cornelius, man. He took his life. He's a black pioneer, damn near like a Bill Cosby to a sense, because he was one of the people you would see on TV every day. You know what I mean? It wasn't a lot of black shows on TV, and he was definitely one of the massive shows, as you can see in this, and you heard in this. It was millions on millions of people watching every week. So he was doing it big, man. He was doing it big. Let me know what y'all think, man, about Soul Train. Should they bring it back? Should they attempt to try to bring it back? How would they bring it back? Because TV isn't a hot thing no more. Everybody's on YouTube. And if they did bring it back, who should host it? Let me know right now, man. Leave a comment, smash a like, and get ready for this next reaction.